Imagine pulling up the complete discography of, a massive globally touring rock band.
Right, you're looking to just totally immerse yourself in their entire musical journey.
Exactly. But when you get there, you realize that nearly half of their life's work has been completely wiped from the archive.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you aren't looking at a complete catalog at all. It's like you're walking through this carefully curated museum, but half the paintings have been abruptly locked in the vault.
Which is such a bizarre experience as a listener.
It really is. And for you, the listener, that's exactly what we're going to unpack today on this deep dive. We are skipping the backstage gossip, the magazine reviews, all the loud PR narratives.
Yeah, we aren't even going to listen to a single note of music today, are we?
Not a single note. Instead, we're conducting a pure forensic analysis of a digital graveyard. We want to understand the mechanics beneath the surface, so we are looking at exactly one source, the raw metadata of the official Greta Van Fleet Complete YouTube playlist.
Which, I mean, I know it sounds completely counterintuitive at first, like why study a rock band without the music?
Right.
But the reality of the modern music industry is that raw data, like the track titles, the exact run times, upload dates, and view counts, it strips away all that marketing spin.
It leaves you with the objective truth.
Exactly. It leaves us with a surprisingly intimate story about how audiences actually behave over a 7-year span, and how a band's artistic identity, wrestles with the platform it's hosted on.
And honestly, the foundational stats of this dig site are just wildly fascinating. So let's lay out the parameters here. We are looking at a playlist that was last updated on May 29th, 2026.
Okay.
And it just sits there boasting an enormous 7,485,339 total playlist views.
Almost 7.5 million views. That is huge.
Right. And the description boldly claims it features 43 videos.
Yeah.
But here is the immediate glaring catch.
Okay, lay it on me.
Out of those 43 videos, 19 are totally hidden.
Wait, 19?
19. They're completely unavailable, which leaves us with exactly 24 surviving tracks to actually analyze.
Man, right out of the gate, we are slammed with this massive paradox. Because you have this packaged playlist generating almost 7.5 million views as a single curated object.
Yeah.
Yet when you look under the hood at the 24 individual songs that actually survived, the engagement numbers are entirely decoupled from that 7.5 million.
What do you mean by decoupled?
Well, some individual tracks eclipse that number all by themselves, while others don't even register a fraction of it. It highlights this massive gulf between a passive listener, someone who just hits play all on a playlist and walks away.
Right, they're doing dishes or whatever.
Exactly. Versus an active fan who specifically hunts down a viral track.
Okay, I want to focus on those 19 missing videos first, because to me, that is the most glaring mystery on the page. A playlist titled Greta Van Fleet Complete is actively lying to us.
It is entirely fractured, yeah.
So what is the mechanism behind this? Because my first thought is some kind of deliberate, like, Disney Vault strategy, right?
Oh, sure.
Is the band actively hiding their early, unpolished work to control their image? Or are we just looking at the boring reality of geo-blocking?
Well, it's really tempting to think it's a grand artistic conspiracy, but more often than not, it just points to the absolute fragility of digital media.
Fragility?
Yeah. We operate under this collective delusion that once something is uploaded to a major platform, it's immortalized.
Right, it's on the internet forever.
But a complete playlist is really just a fragile house of cards built on licensing agreements. Those 19 missing tracks. They could be early singles that had sample clearance issues later down the line.
Oh, that makes sense.
Or they could be live performances owned by a specific broadcast network whose rights just expired. Or they could simply be victims of international copyright disputes. The label just had to pull them down in certain territories.
Wow, which completely shatters the illusion of the digital library. I mean, we think of our streaming apps as these indestructible vaults of our favorite music.
But you don't actually own the vault.
Right. We don't own the vault, and we certainly don't own the records inside it.
Exactly. We are essentially just renting access to a shifting landscape. And think about what that means for those 7.4 million playlist views.
Okay.
Those represent millions of instances where fans hit play all, expecting the definitive journey of Greta Van Fleet, and were instead served a heavily redacted, fractured
And they
experience.
probably didn't even notice.
Right, because the platform seamlessly skips over the dead links.
Yeah.
The listener doesn't even know they're being fed an incomplete narrative.
That is wild.
Mm.
It means if we actually want to piece together the band's history, we have to play detective with the 24 tracks that are still standing.
We have to reconstruct the timeline.
Exactly. So let's organize these survivors chronologically. Let's
Okay.
dig all the way down to the deepest layer of the data 7 years ago. We want to see what initially built this massive, undeniable following.
And when you isolate the data from that 7-year mark, the engagement metrics are absolutely explosive.
It's a huge spike.
It is a massive spike in attention.
Yeah, we have 8 surviving tracks from this era. And instead of just, reading a spreadsheet, let's look at the sheer scale here.
Okay.
The absolute ceiling of this era is a track called You're the One, commanding a staggering 15 million views.
15 million.
Yeah. But what's really telling is the floor. Across all 8 tracks, including Age of Man at 8.7 million, Lover Leaver, all the way down to The New Day. Not a single one drops below 2 million views.
That floor is incredible.
But wait, I have to challenge this a bit.
Yeah.
Does You're the One, having 15 million views, actually mean it was this massive cultural phenomenon? Or does it just mean, it's been sitting on the internet for 7 long years, basically acting like a snowball and collecting stray clicks over thousands of days?
That is honestly a vital question to ask when you're looking at historical data, because time heavily skews analytics.
Right.
But the key to unlocking this isn't the 15 million. It's exactly what you just pointed out. It's the floor.
The 2 million minimum.
Yes. If You're the One was just an anomaly, like a single catchy track that the algorithm just happened to love, you would see it sitting at 15 million while the rest of the album languished at, say, 50,000 views.
Oh, I see.
But because every single one of those 8 tracks maintains a baseline of over 2 million, we aren't looking at a slow accumulation of accidental clicks.
We are looking at a massive, ravenous consumption of an entire body of work.
Precisely. So it wasn't a one-hit wonder situation. They didn't just have a good single. They had a fully engaged audience eating up everything they put on the plate.
Wow.
Hmm.
It proves that 7 years ago, they didn't just trend, they arrived.
Right. It establishes a massive, incredibly wide foundation of early engagement that most bands, frankly, never achieve in a lifetime.
Okay, so they plant this massive flag, securing tens of millions of collective views right out of the gate. But catching lightning in a bottle is one thing.
Keeping it trapped there is another.
Exactly. Naturally, you'd wonder how a band maintains that kind of earthquake. So if we scrub forward to the middle of this data set, the release is from roughly 5 years ago.
Mm.
How does the audience behave? Do they stick around?
This is where we see the most fascinating shift in audience behavior. The honeymoon phase ends, and the data starts to segment.
Let's look at the shape of that segmenting. From 5 years ago, we have this dense, highly successful cluster of 9 tracks. It's clearly a major album cycle,
Mm-hmm.
and the ceiling is still incredibly high. Light My Love acts as the absolute titan of this era, pulling in 7.2 million views.
A huge hit.
Yeah, and following that, you have strong performers like Broken Bells at 5 million and The Weighted Dreams at 3.2 million. But as we slide down the list, for the first time in the catalog, the floor drops.
Right. Things change.
We start seeing tracks dip below the 1 million mark. Trip the Light Fantastic, for example, bottoms out this specific era at 857,000 views.
Which tells a very specific story about how a catalog deepens and how fan bases mature.
How so?
Well, in the first era, 7 years ago, everything was new. It was a spectacle, so everyone consumed everything. But by year 5, this natural divergence occurs.
So wait, is the drop below 1 million a sign of failure? Did they lose part of their audience?
Not at all. It's actually a sign of structural health.
Really?
Yeah, think of a massive shopping mall. You need a massive anchor tenant, like a huge department store, to draw in the foot traffic from the highway. That's what Light My Love does at 7.2 million views. It's the accessible anthem that gets played on mainstream playlists. The casual listener hears it, loves it, and stays right there.
Right.
But the people who wander deeper into the mall, finding those weird niche boutique stores, those are the hardcore fans who converted during the first era. They're the 857,000 people listening to Trip the Light Fantastic.
I love that analogy. The major hits bring the casuals into the building, but the deep cuts sustain the true believers.
Exactly. And in the modern streaming economy, having a basement of nearly 900,000 listeners for your least commercial, deepest album cuts, that is incredibly robust.
Yeah, that's a lot of people.
It proves they retained a massive core audience from their explosive debut, even as the broader public only focused on the tentpole singles.
Okay, so they built the foundation 7 years ago, and 5 years ago they built the rest of the house on top of it. They have the anchor tenants, they have the boutique stores. The system is working flawlessly.
Right.
But this brings us to the most jarring part of this entire analysis. If we follow this timeline all the way up to the surface, to the cluster of releases from just 2 years ago, the data doesn't just dip.
No, it dropped.
It absolutely falls off a cliff.
The modern era of this playlist changes its behavior so drastically, it almost looks like an error in the system.
Seriously, let me lay out just how dramatic this is. The tracks from 2 years ago fail to hit 1 million. They fail to hit 500,000.
Wow.
Fate of the Faithful leads the pack with a mere 464,000 views. The Falling Sky sits at 411,000, and it just bleeds out from there. 209,000, 183,000.
It's a stark contrast.
And sitting at the absolute rock bottom of this entire 24-track archive is a song called Meeting the Master. It has exactly 15,000 views.
15,000.
I'm sorry, but I have to push back hard here. 15,000 views on a track from 2 years ago compared to 15 million views on a track from 7 years ago.
It's a massive gap.
That is a literal 1,000-fold difference. 1,000 times fewer eyeballs. Are we absolutely sure we aren't just making excuses for a band whose new album completely alienated their fan base?
I get why you'd say that.
Because a drop that catastrophic usually means the art failed, the audience abandoned ship, and the cultural relevance is just dead.
It is so easy to look at a 1000x drop and scream that the sky is falling. And, to be fair, part of that drop might genuinely reflect the natural waning of mainstream zeitgeist-level attention.
Right. You can't be the new big thing forever.
Exactly. You simply cannot maintain the new shiny object status for a decade. But if you assume a drop from 15 million to 15,000 means nobody is listening to the band anymore, you are completely misreading how digital infrastructure has evolved over the last 3 years.
Okay, explain the mechanics of that, because the numbers look brutal.
You have to look closely at the labeling on those newer tracks. The videos from 2 years ago are almost entirely tagged as official audio. They aren't highly produced music videos. They are just the song playing over a static image of the album cover.
Oh, the kind of video where you just hit play and minimize the tab.
Exactly. Now think about how user behavior has shifted. 7 years ago, YouTube was still heavily utilized as a primary music discovery and listening engine.
People definitely just use YouTube as their radio.
Yeah. People made massive legacy playlists on YouTube and left them running at parties or in offices. Those older tracks got embedded into Reddit, blog posts, and forum discussions, baking them into the platform's DNA. But in the last 2 to 3 years, the market has heavily segmented.
You mean the dominance of dedicated audio apps?
Precisely. If a fan today wants to watch a visual spectacle, they go to YouTube. But if they just want to stream the static audio of a new album, they are overwhelmingly using a dedicated audio ecosystem: Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal.
That makes total sense.
Furthermore, YouTube itself changed its architecture with the rollout of YouTube Music. Many of these official audio tracks are automatically generated by the platform's API to serve the YouTube Music app, rather than functioning as traditional algorithmically pushed YouTube videos.
Wow. So that 15,000 view count on Meeting the Master isn't a tombstone for the band's popularity.
Yeah.
It's a tombstone for how we used to use YouTube.
That's exactly it. The 15,000 views likely just represent the tiny fraction of the audience who still stubbornly use desktop YouTube as an audio player for new, static releases.
The holdouts.
Right. The millions of other fans haven't disappeared. They've just migrated their ears to a different app. The medium is dictating the data, not the quality of the art.
That completely flips the perspective. We aren't just tracking the history of Greta Van Fleet. We are tracking the real-time evolution of internet consumption.
It's a tech story as much as a music story.
Exactly. But speaking of the art itself, I want to step away from the timeline and the view counts for a moment. Let's look at the actual shape and flavor of the music that generated this data.
Okay, let's dig into it.
Because the metadata we have left, specifically the runtimes and the song titles, reveals a massive amount about the band's artistic ambition and how they view themselves in the industry.
We're looking at the structural blueprints of the catalog.
Exactly. When you scan the lengths of these 24 surviving tracks, the variance is staggering. It's like looking at the blueprints of a city where the zoning laws have completely vanished.
That's a great way to put it.
On one extreme end, from 2 years ago, we have a track called Runway Blues. It is exactly 1 minute and 18 seconds long.
Wow, brief.
It's a fleeting thought. A quick roadside billboard you drive past at 80 miles an hour.
It's an interesting outlier, especially considering modern trends.
Right, because usually short songs are designed for maximum algorithmic repetition. But look at the complete opposite end of the spectrum. From 5 years ago, we have a track called The Weight of Dreams.
Oh, this one is massive.
The runtime on this absolute behemoth is 8 minutes and 52 seconds.
Nearly 9 minutes.
That is not a billboard. That is a sprawling Gothic cathedral of a song. And the vast majority of the other tracks aren't quick radio jingles either. They sit heavily in the 4 to 5 minute range, or even longer.
Right, they take their time.
Yeah. Age of Man is over 6 minutes. Broken Bells is nearly 6 minutes.
Which tells us a profound amount about their strategic intent, especially when you pair those epic runtimes with the actual titles of the track.
Yes. Let's talk about the names of these buildings. We're looking at titles like Mountain of the Sun, Sacred the Thread, Stardust Chords, The Barbarians, and Fate of the Faithful.
These are heavy titles.
They really are. These aren't your typical Baby, I Miss You or Boy Meets Girl at the Club pop titles.
It's incredibly deliberate signaling to the listener. In an era where the music industry is heavily incentivizing the TikTokification of music.
Ugh, the 2-minute songs.
Exactly. Where artists are pressured to write 2-minute and 15-second songs with the chorus hitting at the 10-second mark to maximize replay value and algorithmic retention.
Yeah.
A nearly 9-minute track called The Weight of Dreams is a massive act of defiance.
They aren't trying to engineer a viral dance trend at all.
Not at all. When you pair heavy runtimes with mythological, highly thematic titles, you are looking at an artist highly focused on world building.
Right.
They are aiming for a cinematic, album-oriented scale. An 8-minute, 52-second track is a band demanding that you sit down, turn off your distractions, and immerse yourself in a specific atmosphere.
It's an experience.
Yes. The metadata alone, without hearing a single guitar riff, tells us this is a band actively aligning themselves with the legacy of progressive, theatrical rock, completely ignoring the formulaic pop structures that dominate modern streaming.
It is honestly mind-blowing what you can extract from a single static page of text on the internet if you just know what to look for.
It really is.
Let's just recap the sheer scale of the journey we've taken today. By simply analyzing the metadata of a single YouTube playlist, we've watched a band explode onto the cultural scene 7 years ago.
Setting that massive foundation.
Yeah, setting a foundation with multi-million view mega hits across an entire album. We've seen them mature into the middle of their career, building anchor tenants to draw the masses while constructing deeper, more complex boutiques to retain their hardcore base.
And we've also witnessed these shifting tectonic plates of digital media.
Totally.
We navigated the mystery of the 19 vanished tracks, exposing the fragility of digital archives and the illusion of the complete catalog. And we watched the raw view counts plummet in the modern era, not because the band failed, but because the global audience fundamentally changed how and where they consume new audio.
And we did all of this while uncovering their artistic identity, identifying a band that prefers building massive 8-minute musical cathedrals over highly optimized, algorithm-friendly billboards.
It really emphasizes that data is never just a spreadsheet of numbers.
Right.
It is a behavioral map. The metadata reveals exactly how art is structured by the creator, how it is distributed by the platforms, and most importantly, how it is actively consumed and abandoned by us over time.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over.
Okay.
We've spent this entire time analyzing the digital footprint of a rock band over a 7-year period. But think about your own digital footprint.
Oh, that's interesting.
Think about the projects, the posts, the emails, the work you've created and put out into the world over the last 7 years.
Yeah.
If someone were to look at a curated playlist of your life's work,
Yeah.
what would be your 15 million view track?
What's the big hit?
Exactly. What is the one thing you put out into the world that everyone instantly resonated with? The anchor tenet of your own catalog. And perhaps more importantly, what is your hidden, unavailable track?
The one in the vault.
Yeah. What is the one piece of yourself that you've deliberately kept completely locked away behind the digital curtain?